The North Sea seems like an ideal place for producing clean wind energy. However, the generated electricity can often not be transported inland in sufficient quantities due to limited grid capacities. It seems logical to store the energy directly at the turbine in the form of hydrogen, becoming independent of the grids. I'm an optimist, but can't help asking myself whether there will be too many challenges in implementing this brilliant idea. Hello and welcome to our new episode of minus 253 degrees Celsius, the expert talk that gets to the point, to the boiling point of hydrogen. And today we are in the Netherlands, in Tilburg. Here our colleagues are working in the pre-development of our electrolysis stack. And with me is Arno Klaassen. Arno, hello, great to have you here. And Arno is a technology manager in the stack pre-development. So Arno, my first question. Are there really plans to produce hydrogen offshore in the future? That means directly within the wind turbine itself?
Yes, definitely. That's actually what we are working on. So we have several studies ongoing and also a publicly funded project to optimize this platform and to see what it means for our stack. And we're not doing this alone. We do this together with several industry partners, each bringing in their own technology. And I think this is also important looking at the ambitious target Europe has set, 10 gigawatts of offshore electrolysis by 2035.
Okay, actually, I'm a bit surprised because it sounds extremely difficult to operate the necessary infrastructure in such a challenging environment.
Indeed, it is a really harsh environment. So you have to think about this salt water and this humidity that can accelerate corrosion. You also have these vibrations coming from winds and the waves. You also need to desalinate the water, feeding into the electrolyzer. And let's not forget the durability and reliability of the system. This is already crucial in an onshore environment, but even more looking towards offshore.
Okay, so the first obvious question that comes to mind is, how do you actually place the stack in an offshore environment?
Yeah, that's not so easy, especially looking towards the future where we target 500 megawatt projects. So this would involve 400 to 500 of our stacks in a single project. And you can imagine that the layout then becomes really important. You could think of putting everything on a single platform, or you do this more in a decentralized solution, basically at the base of all the windmills. Whatever layout is chosen, we see there is a need for a high level of integration of this electrolyzer system with the platform. And that's making it difficult to get commercial agreements because it's more difficult to get responsibility for a certain building block.
That sounds very expensive to me to overcome all of these obstacles. Why don't you just generate the electricity as usual, transport it offshore, and then convert it to hydrogen there?
I think we will keep on doing this as well. But as we tend to go further out to sea offshore and these projects become bigger, at some point bringing back electricity onshore is just too expensive to do it by all these cables. So all these cables have losses. And if you go to a single hydrogen pipeline, it can just take a lot more power than DC cables. And besides this, you also can think of reducing costs by land use, certifications, permits, infrastructure, which you would have on an onshore environment, and is reduced in the offshore.
Are we far away from a running system? Can you give us a hint about the timeframes and desired outcomes of your project?
Of course, we're taking this step by step. We expect to have the coming years to have our stack operated in the offshore environment. But if we look at the large-scale offshore hydrogen facilities, with our stacks, we're targeting 2035, something like that, yes.
What's your personal prediction for 2050 then? Will we see lots of hydrogen being produced offshore? Do you think the enthusiasm will overcome the obstacles?
Yeah, definitely. So I really believe that offshore hydrogen plays an important role in the North Sea in the future. Looking at these renewable energy targets that are setting, that drive really large investments towards this area. And if we can further reduce the cost, I would expect that this technology expands significantly in the future. Combining, what we really need is we need to have continued technical innovation, of course, good collaboration between all parties, clear commercial agreements, and finally, we need enough willpower, and then I believe we can make this a success.
Do you think collaboration is key? Do you think that the current level of willpower will drive the necessary collaboration?
Yeah, definitely. Looking at the industry today, the level of willpower and the collaboration, we see this as key in the industries and governments, and that's what's making me optimistic.
I think the winds of change are driving my optimism turbine right now. Thank you very much for joining us today, and thanks to you all for joining us for this expert talk, minus 253 degrees Celsius, that gets to the point, to the boiling point of hydrogen. And we'll see you next time.